Good afternoon, everyone. We are almost ready to start. We're just waiting for people to join in. I see the list of attendees growing and growing by the minutes. So we'll give a little bit of a couple of minutes so everyone can connect. And then we'll start with this closing webinar for the first EIT Alumni Challenges, run completely online. With the big community focus on not only on the challenge of the current coronavirus crisis, but also on what is coming next, because the world will not end, will not stop, and we have a lot of challenges, new and old ones, that we need to address. So let's just wait a couple of minutes and then we'll start with this webinar. So bear in a couple of minutes with us before we move with the schedule. So as I see more and more people, I think it's a good time to start keeping on time and just reminding you what is the program of this webinar, what we'll be talking about. This is the closing of the challenge that we launched 1 month ago, almost, that we put to our community with the innovative platform where the people were grouping and coming together to propose ideas, best practice to tackle the big challenge around this crisis that we are all facing, probably as a first time in the world in our lives, that everyone in the world is together with a similar crisis. So we'll start with a positive intake on the kind of responses that EIT has to this kind of crisis, and more important, to that kind of programs and supports that either the winners, either the projects that were developed, or other projects that are not that are out there, they can benefit from the different communities of EIT and get the support, these kind of programs. Then we'll announce and present the 5 winning team ideas and their teams, and we'll let them, the jury, give feedback on their views on what happens with these ideas, why did they choose it, and in some way we'll have a brief discussion with them about what may be coming next, what should be the challenges that these ideas and other ideas may face. Then we'll have the winning teams with us. They already know they are the winners, so this could be a spoiler alert on them, but they will giving a little bit feedback of how they thought about this event, and then we'll talk a little bit about the next steps. So first to start, we'll have 3 speakers. Nestor Coronado from EIT Raw Materials will be explaining how raw materials, EIT Raw Materials is approaching these. Then I'll be briefly speaking about EIT Health offer, being also president of the alumni community of EIT Health. And then we'll have Laura that is really involved with a lot of the initiatives that the different communities are taking. So we'll summarize a little bit of the other programs. So I'll give now the floor to Nestor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Miguel. Well, thank you all for organizing and inviting me to be part of this event. Welcome to all our attendees from all over Europe and probably beyond. Yeah, so I'm the head of business development for EIT Raw Materials, and as you know, we are on this challenging situation where a virus has invaded us, and we definitely need to find ways of overcoming the challenges that this is putting mainly to the startups, the scale-ups, and the SMEs. since these are, businesses that are starting, and they need a response from our community to make sure that they would survive these times and would be able to achieve the objectives that they are looking for. So that's why we developed this booster call. Booster call for startups, scale-ups, and SMEs in response to the COVID-19 crisis. If we move to the next slide, Miguel. Yes, let me highlight you what is this call addressing. It is addressing the startups and SMEs. So through the whole, entrepreneurship journey, from very early startups down to established companies, which are considered SMEs. The maximum grant that we are giving is 200K to be spent in 6 months. So that's starting on the 1st of July to the 31st of December. And we are planning to support around 40 companies, if not more, depending on the amount of applications that we would get and the quality of them, but for sure 40. The selection is mainly based, through three main factors. I mean, how the team is composed, what are the objectives that the team want to achieve, what is the technology advancement, and what are necessarily the business opportunities. And after a first evaluation by what we call the co-location centers, it will be approved by the management team. The deadline for this call is tomorrow. End of the day. So in case you would still be interested or you are preparing the proposal, make sure that you submit it on time. Other kicks would be probably focusing on equity. In our case, we focus on revenue sharing as the backflow mechanism because we believe that's a flexible and easy way to implement a backflow. Obviously, one of the main deliverables is we want to hear a success story explaining why through this project, the company survived and actually did what it had to do. And very important is the way of measuring that success. And that success will be measured by KPIs on the jobs created or saved with this support that we are providing, or by the launch of new products or services into the market. So these are the highlights of our call. We invite you to apply if there's still time for tomorrow, to pass over the voice. And hopefully this gives a little bit of a flavor to you guys on the activities that EIT is doing through the different communities that it has, in this case, specifically raw materials. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nestor. So I'll bring you now a little bit on the view of EIT Health. I'll be sharing a little bit what EIT Health may offer, not necessarily specific to this COVID situation. I think Lohan will mention a little bit the overall initiatives that EIT and their kicks are doing specific to this, but focus a little bit on the more general support to a lot of the health challenges, in the way that the more important thing that probably I highlight here on health is that what is happening at the EIT Health community is quite similar to what is happening on all other communities. So the same things, the same kind of offerings that I'm mentioning here is offerings that you'll find quite similar, even if you are not connected with a health project, because you'll find similar frameworks, similar offerings in all the other communities like digital, raw materials, Nestor already mentioned, energy, climate, etc. So the key here point of these communities is that they are not built in a vacuum. They are built with a big network of partners all across Europe, industry, academia, ecosystem enablers. In the case of health, a lot of clinical partners that in some way can support the projects to move forward and open doors that probably otherwise will be rather difficult. The key here is on health is that depending on the idea stage, and if you look in the ideas that we are working here, or if you have a startup you may be at a different stage that you need probably to better see if you have a business or sustainable business model or a sustainable way to move your idea forward, or you already have a company and you need to find clients to enter new markets. So there is offerings that in some way tackle the different stages of your journey. And this is things that you may find not only in health, but in other communities. So this is an example in health of dozens of opportunities that in some way fit the different stages you may have. So when we talk now on the ideation part of what we are doing, there is other steps and further support with different programs for the different stages of that the project will take along its way. And when we speak about Accelerate, it's also important to look into the campus offerings of EIT Health and not only, because the focus of education at EIT, and of course I'm here speaking about EIT Health, but the rest of the kicks are quite similar, and a quite solid focus on entrepreneurship, on helping those that do not have the skills or don't know how to start a business to find is often in these summer schools or other education offerings a good material for them to improve and to move forward with their idea. And many of the good projects on EIT Health started like this. I'll leave here just the context if you want to know more about the accelerator offerings or the summer schools. These are the sites for EIT Health. And I could not speak about the alumni community, in this case, EIT Health community, but again, this is a community that builds other kicks, other parts, and there are three main ways as you as a project, as you as a new idea can find support. One is finding these networks and connecting to these networks, and you becoming an alumni in some way allow you to connect with people all across Europe, finding talent, finding people to get feedback on your ideas or open doors for you. Then the option to co-create things. This is events that we are hosting all across Europe, and in some way allow to complement a lot of skills, meet new people, meet the other communities, these kind of things in some way to co-create with others. Often we do a lot of things across the different kicks that allow to have a more multidisciplinary view on things. And finally, you'll find on these communities also a good way of finding talent, hiring people, or even finding co-founders that you may need for your. This is an example of the job board that we have at EIT Health, but the majority of the communities are building these, and you can find this kind of connections so you can grow your projects. So this is just a link if you want to join the alumni community of EIT Health, and I'll now give the floor to. I'll give the floor to Laurent. Just let me put the PowerPoint again because it just fails. Laurent, if you want to start, I'll just...
Yeah. Thank you, Miguel, and hello everybody. Yeah, so I will complement and give maybe the bigger perspective. I mean, Nestor already presented the initiative that EIT Raw Materials has launched to respond rapidly to the COVID-19 crisis, the same for EIT Health. And these initiatives are part of a whole range of activities, initiatives that the 8 innovation committees are launching. As you know, I mean, the calls are about to close. I mean, the funding that we mobilized at EIT level, so it's an extra funding of 60 million euro that we are deploying from July 1st for the last 6 months of 2020, on top of the existing funding that we were planning on investing in innovators and entrepreneurs this year. And this will go mostly to startups, scale-up, SMEs, and also innovation projects that are dealing directly with the COVID-19 crisis to try to find solutions, develop new products, new ways of working, really fight this crisis and come out of it stronger. In this, also the EIT alumni, I think you'll get some explanations from the jury members later on this challenges that took place. The EIT Alumni Committee is playing its part, really also staying connected with each other, supporting each other, because everybody is working remotely, is spread out across Europe, a lot of disruption. So this community is a great way for the members to support each other. And also what EIT is doing is we're doing this not in isolation. So we're doing this with other part of the commission. So we're working with DGRTD, EIC. We're also making visible a lot of the initiatives that have been deployed at national level for startup and scale-ups and entrepreneurs in all the European countries, so that companies that are in need of bridge funding, of accessing additional customers, of finding solutions for their employees in the short term, of course, can get these kind of support that is being made available by the national government as well. And just to conclude, I mean, it's really this mindset that we're trying to build and have in this EIT community is what is needed to address these challenges that the current COVID-19 crisis posed us, and there will be many other challenges ahead. This is what also Miguel was saying in his introduction. This is for us, we see this as a first way to respond to a crisis and to build a community and do it again when other challenges come our way. So I just want to congratulate also all the participants, and then you'll see in the presentation that are coming that the results of this first EIT Alumni Challenges is very good. Actually, the ideas that were developed are quite mature and will lead to some really good solutions. So this was the first, and it's not the last. There will be many more of these online challenges. So thanks again to everybody that participated.
Okay, thank you, Laurent. Now moving to what everyone is expecting, is like, who are the winning teams? But first, we have an overview of what happened, what the numbers, the results, and we spent more than 2 weeks of ideation. We had then the time for the experts in the jury to evaluate the ideas, but during that time, more than 90 people from our community joined and participated, with 25 people initiating ideas, creating ideas, for a total of 89 ideas that were submitted by them, but then contributed by the overall community in some ways. So we had, in the end, we had to select a shorter number so it would be feasible to get more feedback. We selected those ideas that had more contribution, that were more solid work by all the participants. So we had 15 ideas reviewed by the jury, and out of that 5 were selected in some way as winning, and those that will have our full focus moving forwards. So there was more than 240 comments. This was first evaluated by the community, so these 15 ideas were selected from those that got a more positive feedback from the community itself. And each idea got at least 11 evaluations, so in some way there was a high level of engagement with them, and of course was a good and nice engaged participation of using digital tools to bring people together, to create new ideas, to bring new feedbacks in someone as a team. So when we present now the winning projects, we are not seeing a winning person, but a winning team, and in some way a winning community, because these projects are just a first step of needs, of things that the community feel that needs to be worked, and some grounds of how it can be worked. So let's start with the first idea. So the number one, focus on connecting local producers with local communities. So what we saw in these past months is the needs of further connecting the supply chain more locally, so not being so dependent on a just global supply chain and forgetting the local supply chain. So the idea focused on enabling and overcoming these limitations with digital tools, with more new ways of in some way connecting these communities, and focusing not only on the tool, on the product, but how to implement it, how to move it forward in the way, so that when we need it, and we can bring again local to this point. And this was one of many ideas that focus on this issue of a more resilient and close ecosystem. So Going to idea number 2, also by Carolina, but with contributions of others in the team, the issues that we also found that we are not so digital in the end. When we really need to go digital, there is still a lot of people that are out of that walls. So more than just coming with new technology, we need to find where that technology is missing, where people do not still grasp that technology. So the solution is proposed to map and to try to tackle that missing pieces, so we can turn and democratize technology to all. Because in the end, when we need to rely on technology, the truth is there is still a gap between those that have access and work with technologies with those that do not in some way have access to it. So that was the second idea from the 5. Now moving to the third one, the proposal was Mehul, and then we have also a quite bigger team contributing to this, and focus a lot on bringing the physical space of the universities to the digital worlds. The truth is that we had to move digitally, but things were not simply digital. And there is a lot to do here. This was a proposal of a new tool of moving forward, of enabling this kind of more integrated connection and bringing all the students together in a digital form. So this was the third idea. Then we have the fourth idea that focuses a little on the privacy challenges that we face, proposed by Eric. A lot of talking now of using apps, trace, and so on, but there is a lot of technology. There is a lot of things that we can do to keep the privacy, to keep the basis of probably what is European democracy probably working, while we deploy the kind of tools that allow us to be safer in some way. So this was an idea quite focused on a new device, not focusing on people, but focusing on the core of tracing contacts. So, and finally, the final winning idea by Ariel focus on the crisis that we are facing now. The truth is that talent and job marketplace is still a 1 billion markets, billions market full of inefficiency, where there are people that need a job, looking for a job with their talents, and others that need people with talents and with the skills. And there's still a big gap in between. And now that we are facing an increasing number of people going out of job, it becomes more necessary to fill that gap in different ways. And the focus of this idea is to bring together that marketplace. So this was the 5 ideas worked by the teams, and we'll have the project owners later. I just wanted to bring you here 6 topics in some way that were not selected. In some way, the ideas were not in some way properly extended, but we wanted to highlight because they are worth to think further on some topics that several ideas touch. So probably none of them were solid enough to reach to the top 5. But in general, they bring topics that are key. One of them is a challenge of the sustainability of healthcare equipment life cycle, especially now that we go global and scale with masks, gloves, and so on. We start finding that those are not sustainable equipments, that there is a lack of sustainability on the production, on the distribution, even on the wastes of things. And there is a lot of ideas targeting the need of better information or more targeted information. How do you speak to young people, to older people in a more clear way and with evidence about COVID-19? Because it's a big challenge that we are having, is a lot of noise, a lot of information, but it does not reach, the proper information not reaching the correct people. A lot of ideas focusing on more accessible, so the democratization of technology and secure telemedicine tools. So moving a lot to away on the hospital and focusing also on the point of the mental health that is often disregarded. Then several ideas focusing on the need for a more flexible work practice, really implementing this remote practice, even if not a full way, but allowing this to be a more healthier and local community. So in some way that you can work in a more healthy environment and also rely more on your local ecosystem that often is forgotten, that you have neighbors, that you have a community that in some way can help you and will be key to help you in these kind of situations. Then other ideas focus on the flexibility of our infrastructures. How can we build a hospital when we need it, just converting like a stadium or other facilities? Knowing how to do this, being prepared to scale the kind of resources that we need on these situations. Not necessarily having a stadium become a hospital, but how can we use these kind of things? And finally, a lot of ideas focusing on this tracking of crowds and queue management that become quite relevant, or when you need still to manage the normal life that we are now moving. So moving forward, I'll give now the floor and bring to the stage two of our jury panels and experts, so Ildiko and Ursula. Are you there?
Yes.
Ildiko,
thank you. Thank you, Miguel.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. Also, first of all, I want to thank all the ideators for their great contributions. As Miguel already said, this was not only about winning, this really is a team effort of all the teams and all these excellent ideas together. So you also saw in the final slide all the other ideas. For the winning teams, I would like to congratulate by name the team of Carolina, the team of Mehul, the team of Eric, and the team of Ariel. And from my viewpoint, I see that there is a lot of social ideas that tackle social cohesion. And for that, I would say that we also, we don't use the term social distancing. I would really prefer that we use the term physical distancing. And can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yeah, good. So this is really, I think, also to think about how we name all the new terms we are working now with. And like from the winning ideas, like 4 ideas tackle social cohesion and also as a self-help tool. So I also rated the mental health app very high, because I think mental health all along is a very important issue to tackle. And yeah, I just thank for all these great ideas and just keep the momentum really to work further on these ideas. So I hope this volunteer group that is set up now can really go further with all the ideas. That's from my side. Miguel?
Okay, thanks. So now after having Ildiko Meni from part of EIT Education Support Officer, also with a public health background, we move also to Ursula Muir, former EIT Health Education Director, also quite focused on this public health situation in Bavaria. So the floor is yours. So it will be great to listen to your feedback on what you saw.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miguel. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Perfect. So yeah, thanks to everyone. Thanks also to all the participants and those who participated in this competition. And I also was very pleased to see so many ideas and want to congratulate all of you to being engaged, because I think this is really, really crucial and what we need, independent of stage of ideas in such a situation as we are at the moment, because I think it really will depend on all of you kind of as talents, kind of, yeah, to move our society forwards. And what I found very interesting is kind of that also in this competition, and I have observed several competitions during the last month, during this crisis, basically kind of 3 or 4 clusters of idea come forward. So on the one hand, it's ideas regarding testing. Secondly, it's kind of supply and also kind of digital tools. Thirdly is kind of new technology, which is more focusing on technology. And then fourthly, it's also, yeah, solutions mitigating not the direct impact, but the kind of next level causes or next level kind of problems or challenges which are coming up. And those actually also won here, which I found very interesting, but also quite, I think, natural. And this is what I want to also tell those teams who were focusing more on those tests and those medical devices. I think it's very important to engage here, but here I would rather say, don't start something new by yourself, rather try to kind of become part of this, what is already there, because we know there are so many companies on a high level already working, for instance, on tests, the one tests or antibody tests or so on and so on. And here I think the science is already quite far. So just starting again, I think will not help this solution that much. So this would be my recommendation, which does not mean stop it, but rather try to align with the existing ones. And for those who won, which I also kind of are more on those secondary effects now, and also the digital tools finding alternatives, I highly encourage to move further, because I think, as Ildiko also said, several of them really focused on the physical distancing, and I also by intention say physical distancing and not social distancing, because I'm also, what we are doing here is kind of a social event. So, and I think here, this will stay even after the crisis, because this will bring society forward to, let's say, a next step where innovations are needed. For instance, how to kind of match people looking for a job. People will always look for a job. And this is, I think, a very good start doing this. And I encourage everybody to work further here. Same with this kind of connect in idea, where you want to build a network channel for the universities. Yes, at the moment, the risk, so to say, the challenge is how to overcome the challenge of the lockdown. But if you do it wisely, then you can find a more overarching solution that will also basically keep on working afterwards. So this, I think, would be my advice to all those who have already coherent ideas to, yes, work closely on your USP, which is kind of an immediate response to COVID-19, but then also see how this think forward strategically, the next steps, to see how it can also last. Because this is where we need to think about what will happen in fall, what will happen next year, and not only what will happen within the next 2 months. That's it from my side first at the moment, Miguel.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll like to make you some questions and open a little bit the floor to I'll not say probably a debate because it means confronting different ideas that in some way see what are your views in some things. So as you're saying, there is a lot of hackathons and events now coming in place for this kind of challenges under the COVID and situation. But do you think that the urgency of these ideas will pass with the crisis, or this is a good way of them to become more relevant? That we start seeing that these things are really things that we need to tackle, not only now, but for the future.
Yeah, I can start.
Yeah, maybe if I may start, Miguel. Yes. I think it's a very good question. And I think here you really need to think twofold: what's relevant now, but also what can be relevant next year and so on after. So I think all of them are relevant now, but some will not be relevant afterwards. So this is, I think, what I was already kind of indicating with some parts of the tests and so on and so forth. But for the instance with the job market, people will always kind of looking for jobs. And if we come up now with very good solutions, then this can be relevant. I think now, if you want to think or should think entrepreneurial, really use this kind of current situation and try to speed up things now in order to get them to the next step, to then being able kind of to discuss a more general scale out or development, let's say in the 6 months or so.
I will add something. I think we absolutely have to use the momentum. So really, I've never seen things changing so fast. Like, for example, the bike lanes. I think we all want, or a lot of us wanted this, to have this like in the past years. Now they're out there. This was done in 1 month. So, and for me, also for the winning ideas, I think if we now use the momentum to realize them, they will have a real good chance to be implemented maybe next year if things become more concrete, if you have good stakeholders, etc. So I think really we are living in really interesting times for new ideas.
But following probably on the same kind of topic, do you see that there is more willingness to accept things today, or that probably will not be sustainable in the way that in the end it will vanish again, the efforts of organizations, of institutions, passing beyond that, probably the more public initiatives? Do you see that there is more willingness in general to see? Because I think the majority of the ideas that were put together are things that are already been discussed for years. So are not necessarily new things. There are not necessarily new challenges, just challenges that probably nobody brought or focused so much before. So do you see in general a really increasing willingness for things to happen?
Well, yes, I will continue with the same answer. I think, yes, there is a huge capacity for change right now. So, and it depends on how the crisis is evolving also. So if we have to go back to lockdown, and then there will be another break on shielding, and we have to work on the digital, like for the ideas. We really have to come up and help others also to jump into this digital world. And it's not easy. I mean, not always easy sometimes, as we can see.
Yeah. Ursula, from your experience?
Yeah, so I think I'm a little bit more skeptical here. So on the idea side, I would say, yes, there is a lot of commitment to try out new things, and also from decision makers from all sectors, policy, politics, also finance, also governments, to really look into new ways and ideas, so to say, what could help, like also Ildiko said with the bike lanes, because they were kind of immediate responses. Again, I'm coming back, I think, to my former point. I'm a little bit skeptical on the long run, because at the long run, the proof is in the pudding. And I think here, this goes all kind of who are heavily involved with business creation, and not at the beginning of the accelerator, but rather at the scale out phase. At the end, you need to invest. And I think this is where we are not yet, that people also will realize, okay, I mean, at the end, we need money. And here the question is then, what kind of ideas will win, where, so to say, the money will flow, to put it very, very simple. And I think here we will soon see also kind of a lot of discussions where cuts will be made, where not, and for whom, so to say, the benefit will basically kind of, yeah, get into. I think the good thing is health and kind of health-related products will definitely, in my observation, kind of win, because people, and this is what we are seeing here in this crisis, people are really valuing the health on a global level very highly. I mean, this is why all societies accepted those really, really hard measures of lockdown and so on, because health is valued highly. So this is also when you look into funding, which goes now for the next program on the European level, there is also the willingness again to invest in health and health-related topics, also with the crisis responses with the EIT. However, I think still one needs to see what is not only giving answers to this crisis, but really help society moving forward, and in parallel generating also money so that stakeholders overall are happy. And I think this year one needs to be very carefully study this.
That's, I saw an article the other day that's saying the issue like with climate change or other kind of challenges that we face, there is not a single answer to it. It's not a vaccine. It's a set of different things that you need to do, and it means work and investment rather just that idea. So do you see that the other areas beyond health also get more attention since the issues underlying had been highlighted? So we are not speaking about healthier air, manufacturing challenge, digitalization, a lot of the things that probably EIT covers for already a couple of years on their focus. Do you see that also there is an increased attention to those kind of issues? And there is also no opportunity on that side. I know you are more from the health focus area, but probably seeing, are we looking with the same kind of level that we need for the other challenges that get faced now during this crisis?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, and I'm seeing kind of double realities. On the one hand, I see people a lot who care about climate change and also investment. So in Germany, for instance, we have a big kind of also rescue package from the federal government, and there was a huge discussion. You know, the car industry is very big in Germany. So basically there were also a lot of discussions on incentives here, and what they finally did after a lot of public discussion was, yes, supporting them, but linking it to innovating also the car industry. So for instance, looking into how to go more into electric cars and so on and so forth. So I see these supports, and I see these values of climate change, also kind of sustainability, maybe also Nestor can also comment on this here. So in a way, it's being reflected, at least in some parts. Where I also see it more in a transversal area, which is also kind of one of my special fields. It's the whole part of education, not necessarily only school, but lifelong learning in general. So there is also a lot of kind of innovation going on, how to kind of bring things to the next level, work, so to say, also virtually, and so on and so forth. So yes, overall, I see that the people are waking up, decision makers as well, but it's still a lot of contested discussions. And at the end, it's also how they feel, the sectors feel they can really generate revenue with these things.
Okay, thank you. Iliko, do you want to add anything further here?
Well, there is and we all know there is a huge correlation between climate and the crisis. So like for the air pollution, there is huge evidence that this is really one factor for people getting sick. So definitely I can see potential. So climate change, and even for the origin of the virus, we don't know why it emerged now and why the bats just come out of their nests now. Maybe it's too hot, I don't know. But definitely correlations there. I can see a huge correlation between climate and pollution and the crisis.
A last quick question to you, so we can finish this part. What is your advice to the teams that win? What should be their focus next? If you could leave one advice, one thing that they should focus, what should be their focus now?
Maybe let me start. So I think, again, congratulations to all of you, not only the winning teams. I think it's really worth pushing those ideas forward, keep the groups or find kind of new people to get in, or for those which I said there is already a lot existing, try to link yourself in existing initiatives, but first advice, move on. Second advice, look out for help, both within EIT, the individual kicks, but also if you find kind of experts locally. So, because I think all those ideas, from my experience, you cannot just move forward only by yourself. So find mentors, find people who help you with networking, find people helping you with kind of design thinking and so on and so forth. So that you really kind of stay in a constant flow in order to further develop this. And then be, yeah, persistent, and don't kind of resignate in case you don't kind of move to the next step immediately, but really try to make kind of a constant development.
Yeah, there's not much to add from my side, really. Keep the momentum and watch out for other calls. I think there are calls out there, even in your city, and look what within the network, who else is there who can help and connect.
Miguel, allow me to say a couple of words.
Yes, go
okay.
for it. Go for
well,
it. Yes.
What I would suggest is there's one single thing that I would suggest to the teams, and that's to focus. What you see is that you will see a lot of opportunities all over, and you would like to jump on all of them. Define the area where you want to focus and stick to it, because then all the energy, all the attention, and all the activities would be driving you, to achieve the goal where you have defined that focus. So that's something that I see very often with young entrepreneurs. They see opportunities, they jump from one way to the other one, and at the end, nothing is achieved because of the lack of focus. And then the other one is when looking for capital, don't look for the capital itself. Look for the access to the market, which is different. So try to look for people and organizations that will help you access resources beyond just the money, because thanks to them and thanks to that network that you will be building up is how you will succeed. So this would be my 2 cents for the startup.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for contribution, for giving feedback to the teams, sharing a little bit how they can move forward. And now we'll give the stage to the winning participants. So we'll have, I think all of them are now online. I'll give the floor to you in a short, probably less 1 minute, just if you can speak a little bit about your idea, why you propose it, and then we can speak a little bit about the feedback on our experience. We'll start probably in order. We'll have Carolina presenting the first 2. So if you can share a little bit your 2 ideas and why you feel that those are important things to solve, that will be great. Quick shorts.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you, Miguel, for the great presentation. And just to introduce myself, I'm Carolina Pais. I'm part of the EIT Raw Materials Alumni Group, and I'm currently doing my master's degree in sustainability and innovation at Ghent University. And both ideas were motivated by trying to go towards a circular society and in a more sustainable manner, especially when I was the first one connecting local producers with the local community, was really motivated about circular economy. And the second one was because of a special issue in the country, because I can notice a lack of access to digital, and we could all notice that this really affected the access of everyone to social community. And I also like to thank the organization team. It was a good experience. This challenge brought people together from different backgrounds and EIT groups. and this connection with EIT Health, EIT Raw Materials, EIT Food, and many others. It was a great opportunity to meet people that are worried about social and economic impacts of COVID-19 and realize that we might have more common interests than the one discussed in the challenge. That was really interesting. And it was also a challenge to develop this in this format, this type of challenge during the crisis. And it's not easy, but EIT did a really good job with that. We were able to work and discuss solutions to overcome the crisis, and also the innovative platform. I didn't have the access to that platform before, and it made everything really easier for us. It helped to understand the different proposals, and definitely helps a lot in the creative process. And most of the ideas came with a lot of collaboration between the teams and discussion on the topics. And without this platform, it would not be that easy, and it would be really harder to work. And also, they were really supportive in the chat on the website, helping us to overcome any problems and difficulties that appeared during the process, and connecting the ideators that have similar ideas. And for now, we want to discuss the ideas better and follow all the advices that Eudiko and Ursula gave us during this webinar. And we are planning to study the market, understand better the feasibility of them in the society and their impacts. And just to conclude, because I'm already speaking too much, I want to say thank you again to the EIT team to make this possible and help to connect all these amazing people together to create innovative ideas that can have a great impact on society, not only at the moment, but can help us to accelerate towards a circular economy. And also, I really appreciate all the advice and suggestions that you guys gave us.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move to Ariel, because he was also part of some of the winning teams with Carolina, and also proposal of the idea number 5. If you don't have so much time because Carolina had 2 ideas, the floor is yours to share with your feedback.
Thank you very much, Miguel, and thank you all the panelists for your advices and suggestions. I wasn't able to join right from the beginning, but I caught some of the last points in the last 15 minutes very valuable. As you said, we are trying to raise our ideas, and the attitude we need right now is a mindset of not giving up, looking for the opportunities that are going to accelerate our idea, and be very focused, very focused in order to achieve that goal that we have set ourselves in our professional career. I just want to thank very briefly EIT alumni, because I think they have done a great job in these times of crisis. This is exactly what we need, that this kind of organizations like EIT put these kind of challenges for us, the young people who are enthusiastic and just want to like put our talent there and help to tackle the challenge. So I think that was a great job, and thank you very much, everyone. Looking forward to keep working hard. Have a great day.
Thanks. So Eric, what was your experience? Why?
Thank you, Miguel. Also, thanks to the panel for the kind words. So yeah, the reason I sent in this idea is because, well, this crisis has brought a lot of, has put us all in lockdown, and many of these lockdown measures are affecting our economy very badly. So, and they have been implemented under emergency law, which now the emergency is getting less and less, but they still want to do contact tracing, which is only possible under emergency law because it requires special privacy violations. So under the Dutch constitution, it's not legal to do this type of contact tracing. And I'm also a bit scared of giving the government access to all my location data. So I thought I'd come into action, send in this idea, see how far it goes. And I'm quite happy I got selected. I found some good persons who are willing to give advice on this product, and yeah, I'm hoping to see where it goes. Thank you very much.
Thanks. So last but not the least, Mehu, can you share a little bit? This idea is something that you already worked in before, right? Before this challenge.
Yeah. So thank you, Miguel, for giving me this opportunity, and also all the experts for who gave like a very valuable inputs on our ideas and gave a valuable feedback to evaluate our ideas as well. So yeah, of course, I came up with this idea in a hackathon that I did before with the other team, but I really thought it has a great potential to make it implemented in a university campus to tackle this crisis situation. And this was also my personal reflection on problems that I faced during this pandemic, and also my timely observation with the university for the communication gap that I observed. And I also wanted to do something about it, and also it created a little bit of problem. Also, I wanted to address the bureaucracy that the student face in this pandemic situation, and this make the crisis work a little bit slower. So it gave me this EIT opportunity platform gave me a good opportunity to connect with all the experts, to get their suggestion, to appreciate the work, and then get motivation to work on this idea further, and providing me the resources for this idea. And I'm really looking forward to work on this idea further with the focus on focus more on crisis situations, and getting more input from EIT community as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Now I'll briefly talk about what will be the next steps. Meanwhile, we'll then have a space for questions and answers. If you have a Q&A, you can use the Q&A functionality of Zoom if you want to put some questions to the panel. But meanwhile, focusing on the next steps, because this is not just an exercise that we did to share things. We are really focused now on how can we move these ideas further to the next steps. So what we'll be having, we have a team of volunteers from the community, of EIT alumni community, that will be working with the winning teams. Some of them, they presented ideas, others will be there to help those that presented the ideas and are not part of this group of volunteers, and they will work during the next 3 weeks to really define what are the next steps, what is there in the market, and what needs to be done to achieve the impact that is intended. Because in the end, the goal is not just to bring a new product or new technology. I think, like Ursula was saying, there's a lot of things being done. What can we do as a community to make it happen, to make the impact going further? So the teams will be working a little bit, what should be the next steps, and how can we move that idea into a final, into something tangible and impact. So what that means, does it mean to create a new startup, or sharing this information, these ideas with the correct people, with the correct stakeholders? So they will be working on that with the help with the EIT. And of course, the goal is to help these ideas to have access to the EIT communities network. So leverage all these things that Laura, Nestor, and I presented, and others that exist, and use all this network in the way that can foster these ideas the best way. So these are the next steps for the 5 winning ideas. We may also be looking some to the nice ideas that I mentioned afterwards that are worth pursuing, but that will depend on the community, because this is a community activity. This is the community making this together, and we'll move along as a community. So this is all from our side. I think there was no question put. Yes.
Can I just add something?
Sure.
Also, because I said try to really kind of network and see what's around. And I also offer you, if you have any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn, because I also see some kind of connections where it might be worth kind of you linking to. So if you are interested in kind of move forward, you will also find me there. If not, Miguel kind of can reconnect you to me. So this is also my offer, because I really like kind of supporting all of you guys, and I'm currently working, as Miguel said, at the moment with the Bavarian government, and on a very focused part, we really help care homes and elderly care homes to mitigate kind of the COVID outbreaks. So I'm also kind of seeing what's going on, what's working well, what's not working well. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to leave with some thank you to who has been supporting this. Of course, I think the first thank you goes to Manon, that is the EIT meeting name here. So she often misses on running things behind the scenes, but she has been quite key of making this happening, on being the glue of all the community, because we need that. And of course, a big thanks to Be Innovative, because they sponsored and they supported us with this challenge. And also, of course, a big thanks to everyone at EIT Alumni, the different communities, because they have been so supportive of this initiative. And we hope that now we'll see impact in a couple of months of these ideas, things moving forward. Innovation takes time, new ideas takes time, but we are in the correct community, in the correct way of making things happening. Hopefully quicker than before, so we can tackle the biggest challenge that we have in face of us. So thank you again for joining us, and let's keep in touch and keep it posted with us, because we'll try to share with you the progress of the different teams along the way. Thank you again.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.